All right, good morning and welcome to Iyun with Benzion, Yevamos Iyun Tet. We have a great shir. I even got haskama from a Shmuel Whittel. He told me that that there's no such thing as Israeli for women, and there's no such thing as a Kohenes for women. He agreed with me. We're talking about Nesinim today. What? He did not say that. What did he say?
He didn't say that.
I said it. I put it into his mouth. But I said, but listen, I'm going to prove it right now. Listen to me prove this. Listen to this. Nesinim. Listen to this share about Nesinim. What are Nesinim? I think the Oraisa, the Rabbanan, and the Rishonim discuss this. This is the daf about Nesinim. David Gazer Aleim, or Yeshua Gazer Aleim. What is going on over here? So listen to what I have to say about this. The Gemara says that they were gozer that they be shoave mayim mechot ve'esim v'shoave mayim. They should be wood choppers. It says le'eda l'mizbeach for Klal Yisrael and for the Beis Hamikdash to help out in the Beis Hamikdash or the Mishkan when it applied. Basically, they were avodim knainim. Right? They were avodim. They had a mila and zvila. They were avodim knainim. Now, if you're an Eved Knaini, you're worse than just lavo bakal, right? You're not any person's not every Jewish person's not allowed to marry you. You're less than part of the Kal Hashem. You're an Eved Knaini. There's an issur to marry a Jewish person. Can't marry an Eved Knaini. A Jewish person can marry a ger. Can marry a ger. Only a Kohen can't marry a Giores, but Yisrael could marry a ger. So we talked about before this thing about. There's two parts to the Jewish nation. There's the Kal Hashem, being part of the congregation of Hashem, and then there's part of Kedushas Yisrael. Kedushas Yisrael, this is Kedushas Yisrael, Levi, and Kahuna. You're called to the Torah as a Kohen, Levi, Yisrael is Kedusha. That's a Kedusha. It's not part of the Kal Hashem. So we explained that there's no such thing as a woman have Kedushas Yisrael, right? There's Kedushas Kahuna. There's no such thing for a woman. The only reason she gets to eat truma is because she's part of the mishpacha's kahuna. She marries a kohen. It's a kula that the husband's allowed to feed her from truma. She's not a kohenis. The proof is that she's allowed to be metamel mason. And avodim knainim or shifcha knainios, right? Even Eved Knaini only has din like a woman. He's only chayav mitzvahs like a woman. He has no kedushas Yisrael, and that's why in a kedushas Yisrael we defined as basically someone who has moral and ethic a compass. He has a higher moral and ethic compass as part of the Torah, and only a man can really delve into higher moral decisions. Women are easier. Nashim daitan kalos. It's easier. They don't have hard decisions. They don't make hard decisions. They have a different moral compass than man, so they can never be a full Yisrael. But you could be a Yehudi. You could be a Yehudi, and that's the definition of Kal Hashem. Now, if you're an Eved Knaini, you're not a Yehudi yet. You're not a Jewish person yet, because you're still an Eved. But there is one level above that, and that's the Gemara calls these Nesinim. They're called Gerim Grurim. They were unaccepted. The article translates that as they were unaccepted Gerim. They were converts that were unaccepted. I mean, they were partially accepted, but they weren't fully accepted. What does that leave you with? So if you're a ger, a fully accepted ger, that makes you maybe part of the Kal Hashem, maybe not part of the Kal Hashem. It's Machlokes, Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi. We actually posted that gerim are not part of the Kal Hashem, and then our mamzer is allowed to marry them. They're not part of the Kal Hashem. Suadak allowed to marry them because they're not part of the Kal Hashem. They're part of the congregation. They have different minhagim rooted in them than because of their past. They have different minhagim rooted in them. Now, what about if you're an Eved Knaini? And David Gazer Aleim means that David was Gozer. He partially removed their bondage over here. The Gemara discusses Rebbe and Rabbi Yochanan tried to remove in later generations their bondage. But David was the forebearer of that. And he did it first. What did he do? He removed their status of Adam Knainim. They weren't accepted as Gerim. And he made them somewhere in between. They weren't part of the Kal Hashem. They weren't Gerim. Full Gerim. On the other hand, they weren't Avodim Knainim. They're somewhere in between. What is the midpoint between a Ger and Eved Knaini? David created that. David created a new part in Klal Yisrael. He created Yehudim. Malchus Yehuda. David was Yehuda. Did you know that David was Yehuda right with that? When it says David in the Torah.
Yehuda is Yud, Hey, Vav,
Yeah.
is the Osius of the Shem Hashem. So Yud is lace Yegarmi Klum.
Listen to the
difference between Havaya and Yehuda is a Dalit. The Dalit is the Os. It says lace Yegarmi Klum. A Dalit is a Dal. Why is a person a Dal? Because he realizes he has nothing. Everything is Hashem. The difference between Havaya and Yehuda is Dalit. Dal is the Os Dal.
Yeah.
Dal is lace Garme Klum. Nothing of his own.
So he only has Hashem in his life.
So
Perfect. This is exactly what I want to say.
And
Exactly. He's not a Shem Havaya, a Yehudi. He's not a full Yisrael. Yisrael has the capability of Havaya, but a Yehudi is a lesser level. The Gemara in Megillah says Yehudi is someone who rejects Avodah Zarah. That's what the Gemara says. He rejects Avodah Zarah. That makes him Yehudi. Mordechai a Yehudi. He was boed by Avodah Zarah. Listen to this. Did you know right Wittau that that David and Yehuda were the same person? Did you know that? No. They were the exact same person. Do you know that the Nevi'im is just an explanation of the Torah Shebachtav?
No.
Did you know this?
No.
He's not going to get into this. He doesn't want to talk about this. But who was Tamar? Was Tamar Bathsheba? Could it be? This is stuff that.
Why did David have to come from Ruth?
Who was Ruth? Was Ruth Rivka? Rivka Imenu was Ruth? Is that possible?
She came from Moab.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why did David and Melch have to come
Ruth
from
was Rivka
Moab?
Imenu, right? That she was from based Lavan. Her
Her
father was Lavan. She wasn't Jewish.
Bring it to Kedusha.
This is big stuff I'm saying over here. But anyway, even if you want to disregard what I'm saying over here and say that Yehuda is David, it does say in the Gemara that David made Yehudim. He made this category of people. Nesinim, he was Nasan. He made them Yehudim. He categorized them as new people. They're less than Gerim. According to Rabbi Yehuda.
Yeah, he's making mistakes. The Nesinim came as my emotional. So there's a different group of
Anyway.
people like the Nesinim. And the Givonim.
Anyway, I don't want to get into the deeper secrets of the Torah over here, but I do want to just say this chiddush over here that they were Yehudim, and Yehuda, all you have to do to be Yehuda is you have to be part of the Kal Hashem, you have to be boed by Avodah Zarah. You're not a full-fledged ger because the Gemara says they were gerim gurum, they weren't fully accepted as gerim, but they were freed partially from their bondage, and they weren't avodim knainim, so they were somewhere in the middle, and it's fitting that David, according to my explanation, made them Yehudim. We know Malchus Yehuda comes from David. Malchus Yisrael does not come from David. It was a break-off from David. And that's the difference. Yehudi is much less than, and for sure a woman, there's the name Yehudis, right? A Jewish woman could be called Yehudis. She could be called Yehudis, because that's part of the Minhagim, being part of the Kal Hashem, being part of the Eda. And that's what it says, Eda. Eda is one level less than Kal. The Kal is a congregation. Eda is a lesser level than Kal. It's maybe the level of Yehudim, that you're boed by Avodah Zarah. You've disregarded Avodah Zarah, but you have not moved on to the point where you're doing fully habituated the customs of Klal Yisrael, of the Kal Hashem. I would say Klal Yisrael, the Kal Hashem. So you're somewhere in between. This is the new thing. David was Gozer. He made these people, they were Yehudim. He made Yehudim. That's what he did. He made Yehudim. Jews, that's what we refer to as Yehudim, but they're not part of the Kal Hashem. They're the Eda, the Mizbeach, are part of the Avodah, they're Meshubah to the Mizbeach and to the Eda. Maybe even that's when Moshe made them also, and Yeshua made them, but they're called basically on David. He would finish the Gzeira to make them Yehudim, to establish these new things. So they're definitely not part of the Kal Hashem, both according to Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda. They're less than Gerim, full-fledged Gerim, but they're not. They're one level above Avodim Knainim. And therefore, a Jewish person is allowed to marry the Nesim, only Psua Daka, but the Nesim himself is not allowed to marry part of the Kal Hashem, not allowed to marry Yisraelis. I guess the Yisrael could have married a Nesim also. So the Nesim are one level below. They're not exactly Avodim Knainim. A Jew can't marry them, and they can't marry a Jewish person, Kal Hashem, but they could marry Gerim. If you consider the Gerim not to be part of Kal Hashem, which we do consider them. So that's basically what Nesinim are. I hope you enjoyed today's share. See you tomorrow.